Hey everybody, so here we go with the Count of Monte Cristo, chapter 49, The Progress of Cavalcante Jr. A short time after the events just recorded, Monte Cristo called one evening on Monsieur Danglars. The banker was out, but Madame Danglars would be pleased to receive him. When the Count entered the boudoir, the Baroness was glancing at some drawings which her daughter had passed to her, after she and Monsieur Cavalcanti Jr. had looked at them together. His presence produced its usual effect, and the Baroness received him with a smile, though she had been somewhat discomforted when his name was announced. Monte Cristo took in the whole scene at a glance. The Baroness was reclining on a settee, and seated beside her was Eugenie, while Cavalcanti stood in front of them. The latter, clad in black, like one of Goethe's heroes, with patent leather shoes and white silk openwork stockings, passed his white and manicured hand through his fair hair, thus displaying a sparkling diamond, which the vain young man could not resist wearing on his finger. This gesture was accompanied by killing glances at Mademoiselle Danglars and sighs meant for that same lady. Mademoiselle Danglars was still the same, cold, scornful, and beautiful. Not one of Andrea's looks or sighs escaped her. She greeted the Count coldly and took advantage of the first opportunity to escape to her studio. Soon, two laughing, noisy voices were mingled with a piano, which told Monte Cristo that Mademoiselle Danglars preferred the society of her singing mistress, Mademoiselle Louise d'Armilly, to either his or Monsieur Cavalcanti's. While conversing with Madame Danglars, and appearing absorbed by the charm of the conversation, the Count watched Monsieur Andrea's solicitude, how he listened to the music at the door he dared not pass, and how he manifested his admiration. The Baron soon came in. His first glance was for Monte Cristo, it is true, but the second was for Andrea. "Have the young ladies not invited you to join them at the piano?" Danglars asked Andrea. "I am sorry to say they have not," replied Andrea with a deeper sigh than ever. Danglars went to the communicating door and opened it. "Well, are we all to be excluded?" he asked his daughter. Then he took the young man into the room, and whether by chance or dexterity, the door was closed behind Andrea in such a way that from where they were sitting, the Baroness and Monte Cristo could not see into the room, but as the banker had followed Andrea, Madame Danglars did not appear to notice the circumstance. Shortly after, the Count heard Andrea's voice singing a Corsican song to the accompaniment of the piano. In the meantime, Madame Danglars began boasting to Monte Cristo of the strength of character of her husband, who, that very morning, had lost 300,000 or 400,000 francs by a business failure in Milan. The praise was certainly well merited, for if the Count had not known of this fresh piece of ill luck from the Baroness, or perhaps by one of the means he had of learning everything, the Baron's face would have told him nothing. "Huh," thought he is already beginning to hide his losses. A month ago he boasted of them. Then aloud he said, "But Monsieur Danglars has so much experience on the exchange that what he has lost in one way he will soon make up in another. I see you are under a misapprehension along with everyone else. Monsieur Danglars never speculates." "Oh yes, that's true. I remember now. Monsieur Debray told me. By the way, what has become of Monsieur Debray? I have not seen him for 3 or 4 days." "Neither have I," said Madame Danglars with miraculous self-possession. "But you commenced a sentence you did not finish." "Oh, yes. I was saying Monsieur Debray told me it was you who had made sacrifices to the demon of speculation." "I will own that I was fond of speculating at one time," replied Madame Danglars, "but I do not care for it any more. But we have talked enough about the exchange. Let us change the conversation to the Villeforts. Have you heard how fate is pursuing them? After losing Monsieur de Saint-Méran within 3 or 4 days of his departure for Paris, the Marquise died a few days after her arrival. But that is not all. You know their daughter was going to marry Monsieur Franz d'Épinay. Do you mean to say their engagement is broken off? Franz declined the honor yesterday morning." "Really? Is the reason known?" "No. That is strange. How does Monsieur de Villefort take all this misfortune?" "As always, quite philosophically." Just then Danglars re-entered the room alone. "Well, have you left Monsieur Cavalcanti with our daughter?" asked the Baroness. Mademoiselle d'Armilly," said the banker. Is she no one?" Turning to Monte Cristo, he said, "Prince Cavalcanti is a charming young man, is he not? Is he really a prince, though?" "I cannot answer for that," said Monte Cristo. "Do you realize what you are asking?" said said the Baroness. If Monsieur de Montcalf should happen to come, he will find Monsieur Cavalcanti in a room where he, Eugénie's intended, has never had permission to enter. Oh, he will not do us the honor of being jealous of his betrothed. He does not care enough for her. Besides, what do I mind if he is vexed or not? The Viscount of Montcalf, announced the valet. The Baroness rose quickly. She was going to tell her daughter when Danglars stopped her. Let her be, he said. She looked at him in astonishment. Monte Cristo pretended he had not seen this little comedy. Albert entered, looking handsome and very cheerful. He greeted the Baroness with ease, Danglars with familiarity, and Monte Cristo with affection. Then turning toward the Baroness, he said, "May I ask how Mademoiselle is?" "Very well," replied Danglars hastily. "At the present moment she is at the piano with Monsieur Cavalcanti." Albert remained calm and indifferent. Perhaps he felt some annoyance, but he knew that Monte Cristo's eye was on him. "The fact is, the prince and my daughter get on very well together. They were the object of general admiration yesterday." "How was it we did not see you, Monsieur de Montcalf?" "What prince?" asked Albert. "Prince Cavalcanti," replied Danglars, who persisted in giving the young man this title. "Oh, pardon, I was unaware that he was a prince. I was unable to accept your invitation as I was compelled to accompany Madame de Montcalf to a German concert given by the Countess of Château-Renaud." After a moment's silence, he asked, "May I be permitted to pay my respects to Mademoiselle Danglars?" "Just one moment, please," said the banker, stopping the yeoman. "Do you hear that delightful cavatina? Da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-da. It is charming. It will be finished in a second." "Splendid! Bravo! Bravo!" With these words, the banker began applauding enthusiastically. "Yes, indeed, it is charming," said Albert. "No one could understand the music of his country better than Cavalcanti does. You did say prince, did you not? In any case, if he is not a prince now, they will make him one. It is a very easy matter in Italy. But to return to the charming musicians, you should ask them to give us the pleasure of another song without letting them know there is a stranger here." This time it was Danglars who was vexed by the young man's indifference. He took Monte Cristo aside. "What do you think of our lover now? He is decidedly very cool, but what can you do? You have given your word. I have certainly given my word to bestow my daughter on a man who loves her, but not on a man who does not love her. Look at this one, as cold as marble, as proud as his father. If he were rich, if he had a fortune like the Cavalcantis, one would overlook it. I have not consulted my daughter, but do you know, if I thought she cared— I do not know whether it is my friendship that blinds me," said Monte Cristo, "but I assure you, I find Monsieur de Montcalf a charming young man. He should make your daughter happy, and sooner or later he will achieve much, for his father has an excellent position." "Humph," was Danglars' reply. "What do you doubt?" "I am thinking of his past, his mysterious past." "But the father's past has nothing to do with the son. You cannot break off the engagement thus. The Montcalfs look upon this marriage as certain." "Well, then, let them explain themselves. You might give a father a hint to that effect. Count, you are on such an intimate footing here." "Certainly, if you wish it." A servant came up to Danglars and said something to him in a low voice. "I shall be back in a minute," said the banker to Monte Cristo. "Wait for me. I may have something interesting to tell you." Indeed, not many minutes had elapsed before Monsieur Danglars returned visibly agitated. "Well," said he, "my courier has returned from Greece." "And how is King Otto?" asked Albert in a playful tone. Danglars looked at him slyly without answering. Monte Cristo turned away his head to hide the momentary expression of pity that had found its way to his face. "Shall we go together?" said Albert to the count. "Yes, if you like," replied the latter. Albert could not understand the banker's look, and turning to Monte Cristo, who understood only too well, he said, "Did you notice how he looked at me?" "Yes," replied the count. "Do you think he meant anything by that look?" "I am sure of it. What can he have meant by his news from Greece?" "How can you expect me to know? I thought perhaps you had some correspondence in the country." Monte Cristo smiled in a way that one always does when trying to avoid giving an answer. "Here he is coming toward you," said Albert. "I will go and compliment Mademoiselle Danglars upon her performance, and in the meanwhile you have an opportunity of speaking to her father." Albert went up to Eugénie with a smile on his lips. Danglars whispered into the count's ear, "You gave me excellent advice. There is a long and terrible history connected with the two words Fernand and Janina." "Nonsense," was Monte Cristo's reply. "Yes, there is. I will tell you about it. But now take the young man away. It is too embarrassing for me to be together with him at this moment." "That is just what I was going to do. Do you still wish me to send his father to you?" "More than ever." The count made a sign to Albert. They took their leave of the ladies and went away, and Monsieur Cavalcanti remained master of the field. Well, Tongla's up to some more mischief with Fernan Mondego / Mokuff. I'll see you next time.